If you are somebody who is just starting your GLP-1 journey or you are considering going on a GLP-1, stick around because this video might just be what you need. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Birdie and I've been struggling with my weight for over 17 years. Now, to give you a little bit of a backstory, I had my daughter when I was 19. I'm 36 now. I'll be 37 in a few weeks. And I've been struggling with weight ever since I had her. Now, I was about 100 pounds before pregnancy, and then I was 135 when I was pregnant. And then immediately after I had her, I dropped it down to 115. And then from there, I just kept gaining. I was never somebody who really ever cared about working out or eating healthy because naturally I was a very small, petite girl. And it didn't matter how much junk food I ate, I just never gained weight. So it never even crossed my mind, back in my teen years. And so trying to lose weight, post-pregnancy was very hard because number one, I really didn't know anything about working out. I really didn't know too much about like eating healthy. Of course, I knew that if I was in a calorie deficit, like if I ate less calories, then I would lose the weight. But to do it properly though, I just never really knew anything about it. And honestly, I just didn't care about it at the time because like I said, it's just something that never really crossed my mind because I never had to worry about my weight or anything like that. And then becoming a mom, especially at such a young age, it was very, very hard. I pretty much had to become the breadwinner because her dad was just, he was just the type of person who could never really commit to a job. And so for consistency, I had to do it. I was a full-time student. I was working part-time. Eventually, I started working full-time. And all that mattered was that we had food on the table and a roof over our head, So survival was really my main priority. I really didn't care about, me really anymore. Because now I had a little person that I had to take care of. And she was my pride and joy. Eventually we, got dogs. And so my kids became my number one priority. Even into my, late 20s when I started my business. And when when my business blew up after 2020, after quarantine, it just blew up after that. Even then, I was still in survival mode. And so again, never really cared, to do anything about my weight. I wasn't necessarily unhealthy. I definitely was too heavy for my height. But overall though, my blood work every year was always, normal. The only concern was that I was just a little bit too heavy. And so I was like, the doc says I'm okay. I just gotta, lose a couple pounds and I'll be good. So it just never occurred to me. I just never cared for it. I just never prioritized my health, to be honest. And so what really hit me, what shifted for me this year is I had to leave the beauty industry. If you follow me on social media at all, if you don't, you should. I'll put, my info right here. At the end of May, I had to leave the beauty industry. At the end of 2023, I developed chronic pain in my dominant arm. When you are overworking, overbooking yourself, it was great. It was a great problem to have. Once my business boomed, I was booked solid back to back. I never took days off unless I was going on vacation. That's just how I worked, To me, at the time, it was my definition of being a boss babe. It was my definition of being a hustler. Stay busy, get your money, get that bag, That was my mindset back then. And so the money was great, I was able to take my family on multiple trips. And we had, we weren't rich, but we were good. We were comfortable. I never had to worry about my bills. I never had to worry about money because I was doing really good with my business. But that was the problem, was that I was so hyper-focused on my career that I just completely was blindsided, didn't care about my personal life. And so with the overworking, I developed that pain. And I tried to push through it, but, this year, I just couldn't do it anymore. It was taking a toll on my body. I already cut my hours in half, taking less clients, and the pain was still just there every single day. So I had to make that decision to leave the beauty industry. So that was at the end of May. The first 2 months, I'm not going to lie, I was very depressed. I was in a very, very dark place mentally. To not only did I leave my career that I literally built from the ground up with my own two hands, I had to leave the one thing that made me feel alive, that made me feel like I had a purpose in this life. It took a huge toll on me. Not only that, but I accumulated a lot of debt within the last couple of years because, once this pain started becoming a problem, I did have to cut down my hours to try to rest more. That was like 2023, but I still pushed through it. I pushed through all of 2024, again, with just trying to take more breaks. But 2025 is when I really had to cut back a lot. And so my income completely changed. I went from being booked solid to now I had to force myself to not be as booked. I had to take less clients. And so financially, it was really hard too. So I accumulated a lot of debt. And then, I tried so hard to keep my business sustained. I tried everything that I could to, stay in the industry, but I just couldn't do it anymore. Physically with this pain, I couldn't do it. Mentally, I just couldn't do it anymore either because of the pain. So I did have to leave. And so I was, I was beating myself up because of, this tough decision that I had to make. And then on top of that, the bills just kept racking up too. And now I had literally no money coming in from anywhere. I hadn't worked a regular job in over 10 years. And I'm not used to this. I'm not used to not having money. Like, I'm just not. I'm a go-getter. I always make it work, but now that I have this pain, what the fuck am I supposed to do with myself? I don't know what to do. It doesn't matter what I do. I still have to use my hands to do something, whether it's a stay-at-home job, like working behind the desk, I still have to use the computer, whether it's like, getting into crafting or whatever, I still have to use my hands. So I just got into this really, really dark space, which was not good. It took a huge toll on me. So it was within those 2 months when I was in this really dark place. This is where I finally faced my shadows. I finally faced my demons. I finally had to sit with myself in the dark. Now, I know you've heard it all the time, right? Like, do the shadow work, heal your inner child. But how the fuck do you do that? Nobody teaches us how to do this stuff. When people talk about your shadows and your demons, this is what I realized in those 2 months. Doing the shadow work, facing your demons, it's no one else except for you. The shadows, the demons, they are literally the old versions of you that you either, one, had to turn off for survival, or two, you had to leave them behind in order to survive. And it was a really, really tough thing for me to go through, but I am so grateful that this happened because I was able to sit with my shadows, sit with my demons. I was finally able to learn how to heal my inner child through, this moment. And that is what brought me to this whole weight loss thing. Because it was in those 2 months that I realized, no, bitch, you did not stop thinking about your image because you didn't care. It's because you did care that you stopped thinking about it. And this is what I mean. I don't remember what the term is. There is an actual term for this, but it's when you purposely overwork yourself or you purposely keep yourself busy so that you don't have to think about your problems. That was me. That was me my entire life. And when I was in that dark place, that's when I realized that this is something that I actually developed really, really early on as a child. I learned that I had to do everything by myself. In order for me to get something, in order for me to get what I wanted, I had to do it on my own. Nobody was going to come to help me. Nobody was going to come to save me. So I had to become the person who was capable of doing everything on her own. And so my true identity, my soft, feminine, girly, my child version of me, I had to leave her behind and become this independent person who was capable of doing everything on her own. That's the type of person I had to become. And then even into adulthood, I carried that into my into my adult life too. I just became the type of person who could not trust anybody. I did not want to ask anybody for help because I didn't want to be disappointed. So it was throughout all of this is when I realized that, you've been masking your personal problems by purposely staying busy so that, quote unquote, you're too busy. And that's why you're not thinking about, your actual problems. So when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, I need to make some changes now. I need to fix my weight and my health now before it's too late. Because in my family, on my mom's side, we don't know too much about my dad's side because unfortunately grandma and grandpa passed away in the motherland during the Vietnam War. So we don't know anything about his side of the family. Thankfully, my dad is pretty healthy. But on my mom's side, my grandma, she had everything. Diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, cataracts, stroke, heart attack. She had everything. So I know that genetically, I do have a chance of developing these issues, especially if I don't take care of myself physically and mentally. I will become the next person to have these things. And because I am somebody who is hyper independent, I never wanted to ask for help. I never did. I never asked anybody to help with, dieting. I never asked anybody for help, on exercising. I would just go to YouTube. I would do my own research. I would try it on my own. And I was never able to keep up, the habit. And because I was never somebody who liked working out anyways, it just never lasted. I know that it's a lifestyle change, but again, because of, my mindset that I had, at the time, I didn't care to focus on my weight at all. It is through this journey that I finally realized that it's okay to ask for help. I finally realized that I don't have to do everything by myself. For the first time ever, during my annual exam this year, I finally, when my doctor asked me, hey, everything looks great. Do you have any other concerns you would like to talk to me about? I finally told her, you know what? I do. And that is when I told her, you know what? I've been struggling with my weight ever since I had my daughter. I know that for the most part, I'm fairly healthy, but my weight has become a problem now. For the last couple of years, I've been getting a lot of joint issues, my knees hurt, my ankles hurt. I know for a fact it's because of my weight. My body is just too small to carry, all of this weight. It's been 17 years. It doesn't matter what I do. My weight fluctuates up and down. I plateau. Even if I lose, I plateau. I can never get to a healthy weight. And it doesn't matter if I work out or if I try to eat healthier, I'm only stabilizing. I'm not able to lose the weight. And I know that, as I'm getting older, it's just going to get harder. And and if I'm already having problems now, I can't imagine the problems I'm going to have in the next couple of years if this keeps going. Now, I know that it's a lifestyle change. I know that I do need to work out more. I know that I need to be in a calorie deficit, but it's very, very hard. So I was just explaining myself, to my doctor. And before I could even finish my thought process, before I could even finish venting to her, the first thing she says is, oh, do you want to go on the shot? It really, that shocked me because I heard of GLP1 through the beauty industry. I had no idea that it was an actual medication prescribed by doctors. I just thought that it was a supplement that, the nurses who own med spas could like sell. I didn't even think that it was an actual medication. So I was really shocked that she said that, because I was thinking like, okay, maybe if she can link me with like a dietitian or somebody who is like, I don't even know what other health departments they have for like weight loss, but I was like, if she can link me with somebody who's gonna hold me accountable and like help me meal plan and help me get to the fucking gym and give me a routine that I can stick with, then that should help, right? That's kind of what I was thinking. But when she threw out the shot right away, I was like, oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what's out there. And so then she started explaining like, oh yeah, like there's like, the main one is like Ozempic, but there's so many other brands. And I'm like, oh, that's what you're talking about. So like, I'm asking her all these questions, and then she's explaining, to me how it works and things like that. So then she was like, yeah, we can definitely give it a try if you want. I'm like, okay, since you suggested it, then we might as well try it. Because that's not really what my mind was, that's not really where my mind was going. But since you suggested it, and you are the one prescribing it, and I'm going to be checking in with you monthly, then let's try it. So then it did take a couple days for my insurance pre-authorization to, get approved and all of that, but it did get approved. So I'm not paying out of pocket. My insurance is paying for it. Thankfully, they are covering it. Honestly, that's the only reason why I decided to give it a try, because my insurance did cover it. I never wanted to take it when I heard about it through the beauty industry, because like I said, like my mindset, I was just so stuck on doing everything on my own. So I was like, yeah, I could get on the shot to like, jumpstart my weight loss, but I don't want to depend on something, like that's where my mindset was at. And so, but now, now that I am where I'm at, again, I do realize that sometimes you just can't do things on your own, which is okay. Like, it's completely okay to admit that. And I'm very hard-headed, I'm a tough nut. I never wanted to ask for help. I never did. My whole life, like I said, I learned that I could not ask for help. I would just be disappointed. So I never did. I never asked for help. But this time I am so happy that I did, because I trust my doctor. She has my whole health history, because she is the one that I will be, checking in with, then I am completely okay with, trying this. And, honestly, it's been okay. It's been good. I'm on week 2. I just took my second shot on Monday. It's Friday today. And, I was actually down 8 pounds last week, which was very fast. But this week, I'm staying steady at, just the 8-pound loss. I haven't lost anything more, which I'm okay with. Like, steady pace wins the game. You know what I mean? So, the only issue that I've had on the shot so far is constipation. The very first shot, within the first day, I was a little bit nauseous. But the first week I was actually okay. The craziest thing that I realized being on this medication is that my food allergy symptoms are non-existent. I'm allergic to garlic and onion, which we all know is in absolutely everything. So it's really hard to avoid. So everything I eat, it doesn't matter what I eat, I would immediately feel sick afterwards. My symptoms are itchy skin, gut issues, my eyes would water. Sometimes I would get a really itchy throat, but it never got to the point where I needed an EpiPen. But those were my food allergy symptoms. I would get really bad migraines. So I would just feel like shit after I eat. But I realized within the first few days, I was like, holy shit, I don't have any symptoms. It's been hours since I ate and I'm completely fine. So I started cooking with garlic and onion, and for the most part I was okay, but I did start to feel the inflammation come back. And that's the other thing too. All of my inflammation went away on this shot immediately. I noticed that immediately that first week. But cooking with onion and garlic I did notice that some of my inflammation did come back. So I am still going to have to try to avoid garlic and onion. Like, I think I'll still eat it, occasionally, but it's not something that I'm going to like be splurging on, unfortunately, because of course, this medication doesn't cure my allergies. It just reduces the inflammation. I'm still allergic. My body still doesn't like it. It's just that I'm able to tolerate it more. Otherwise, the only issue that I've experienced so far is just constipation. So last week I was okay, but this week the constipation was really, really bad. So I did have to implement some Miralax into my diet for throughout the week. And so far, besides the weight loss, I will say this. I have experienced so many other benefits from this medication. If you're wondering, the GLP-1 shot that my doctor prescribed me is Wegovy. So since being on this medication, I've experienced so many other benefits besides just the weight loss. My brain fog is gone. Like, I can sit in silence with myself and not have a million things running through my mind. I can fall asleep naturally now. I used to never be able to fall asleep. I couldn't. I was a night owl. I would stay up till 3, 4 in the morning, not be able to fall asleep because my mind just didn't know how to shut off. But the brain fog is gone. My brain's not running a million miles an hour anymore. My inflammation is gone. Again, my food allergy symptoms are better. Overall, it's a game changer. I wish more people talked about this, because when I first heard of GLP-1, I only knew it as a weight loss shot. I did not know that it was an actual medication that doctors regularly prescribe for diabetic patients. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were other benefits to it until I started doing my own research after I started taking the shot. That's when I found out all these great things. So I cannot wait for my 4-week checkup with my doctor so that I can tell her about all these great things that have been happening. But anyways, so it's definitely been helping me with so much more than just the weight loss. Do I plan to be on this long term? I don't want to be. I don't like to be on medication long term, like any medication long term. But, honestly, I don't know at this point, because since it is helping with the brain fog and the inflammation, I'm going to have to speak to my doctor about maybe being on a long-term, microdose. Just, once I get to my goal weight, that's something that I might have to consider, because overall it does make my body feel a lot better. If you've been on the fence about GLP-1, make sure to talk to your doctor about it. I know that there's a lot of people saying that insurance is not going to cover it, but honestly, from my experience, I think it depends on how your doctor documents it. If all they're prescribing it for is strictly only weight loss, then yes, chances are you probably will get denied. But if your doctor, puts it in there where it's actually being prescribed for other health benefits, I'm pretty sure that's how she put it in my record, because even the tech at the pharmacy told me that it was going to get denied, but it didn't. So yes, so if you are on the fence, definitely make sure you talk to your doctor about it. I'm so glad that I finally cracked and, voiced my concern about my health and my weight to my doctor, because she's the one that put me on this journey. Make sure you like this video, comment down below what your experience is if you are on GLP-1, or if you are thinking about going on GLP-1. I would love to hear and support you. Make sure you subscribe so that you stay up to date on this journey of mine. I do plan to do weekly updates. I do updates. I try to do it daily on my social media, but on YouTube, though, I will do weekly updates, amongst other things in my life. So yeah, that is all for this video. I will catch you at the next one, and until then, stay tuned, and I will see you guys soon.